Guys, I'm Dov, and today I'm back with more Total War Warhammer online action. Today we're going to be taking a look at a couple of Empire versus Norsca replays, having a little bit of a discussion about, the Empire and kind of what builds you can use to help counter Norsca, because Norsca can potentially be a tough matchup, if you're not well prepared. So in this first matchup, I'm going to be taking Norsca, and this is a pretty decent Norsca build. You'll typically see quite a few Marauder Berserkers in this matchup, so I brought 4, including the Broods of the Hound. We've also got 3 Marauders here in the center. We've got a Metal Sorcerer, or a Metal Shaman rather. He's carrying Final Transmutation, Plague of Rust, as well as Metal Shifting for a bit of extra armor piercing against, the Knights and Greatswords and so on. We've got 2 Marauder Hunters with Javelins, 2 Marauder Spearmen in the rear for support, a squad of Wolves with a Skinwolf Werekin, the Maws of Savagery, as well as 1 Norscan Ice Wolf. And my army is indeed led by Wulfric the Wanderer, of course carrying the Hunter of Champions, Seafang, and Stand or Die. For my opponent, this is sort of the traditional, quote-unquote, logic Empire army, and this is what a lot of people think would be the best option against Norsca. We've got a main line here of Greatswords, Tattersouls on this flank, we've got the Sigmar's Sons on this flank, 1 unit of Crossbowmen, and 2 Handgunners for some armor-piercing missiles. He's got a Light Wizard with the Nets of Amantok and a Scroll of Power, I believe. So definitely looking to get some quick nets thrown down, and hopefully use them to his advantage. He also has the Royal Altdorf Griffites and the Demigryph Knights with Halberds on this flank for some nice anti-large armor piercing. The Royal Altdorf Griffites also have Terror, which is very good against the Norskins. He also has Boris Todbringer, one of the best Empire Lords, up on the Griffin with Crush of the Weak, Midland Runefang, of course, for the regeneration, and very good stuff. So, like I was saying, this is probably maybe not the ideal build that some people would bring, but this is the traditional logic: is you use the Light Wizard with the Nets of Amantok, you use the Demigryph Knights with Halberds to countercharge. The Handgunners provide you some really powerful ranged options with nice armor piercing. And yeah, the elite infantry will pretty much carve through whatever the Norskins bring. I mean, Marauder Champions will beat the Greatswords, but you can see here Wulfric getting netted. He was a bit far ahead of my army, so this is a bit unfortunate, but my opponent didn't really have a great response immediately. If he had been right on top of things with these Royal Altdorf Griffites and with Boris, he could have taken him out in a big hurry. As it is, he's taken a bit of a volley there from the Handgunners, so that's a bit unfortunate, but it's nothing overly substantial. We're going to kick the mainline fight off here, and one thing to note about Greatswords is they're honestly not very good. They only have 30 attack and 30 defense. That's worse than even regular swordsmen in terms of pure melee stats. Granted, they have heavy armor piercing and anti-infantry, 95 armor as well, so they have some good staying power, but their combat stats at the end of the day are really not that good. And even against a non-armor piercing unit like these Marauder Berserkers, because of their relatively high charge bonus, when they charge, they'll get quite a bit of shock damage done, and then as the fight starts to go, the Marauder Berserkers will most likely lose, but they're going to trade very cost effectively here. Even these lower tier troops like just regular Marauders will trade somewhat cost effectively with Greatswords just because of their, these guys actually have 34 attack and 28 defense, so they actually have more attack than this super elite unit, which is interesting. You'd think Greatswords previously had great melee stats, but over the various patches of the game, they've been nerfed here and there, and right now they're really in a place where I typically don't bring them, just because I don't find them to be super cost effective. We're going to bring Wulfric back just a bit, since he was in a very risky position. Now that those nets have worn off, we've got the Javelins in here. They're going to be tossing some Javelins at the Griffites. They're pulling away very wisely. Over here, we're getting these Marauder Hunters onto these Demigryph Knights. They did come in here and are beating up on this Shaman Sorcerer. He's going to drop an Overcast Plague of Rust on this unit of Demigryph Knights, so these Marauders, the Berserkers rather, who are saturated in here, will be able to do quite a bit of damage against them, but still they're going to take quite a bit of damage in return. This is a very elite pocket here, and it's starting to turn against me. You can see over here the Sigmar Sun's getting mopped up by the Brutes of the Hound. That's a very bad trade for them. Here in the center, Boris lands and actually terrifies away these Marauders. So that's going to be a bit unfortunate for me. I'm now bringing up kind of this rear support line, though, and we're going to be getting in, dropping a upgraded Final Transmutation on Boris. So that's going to do a substantial amount of damage to him. He will be able to heal away some of that, but also affecting these Great Swords here a bit as well. So very good for me. He is thinking about diving in on this Metal Sorcerer, but decides not to. Going to be taking a bit of fire from these javelins, though. Over here, we're just trying to collapse in on this flank and really get at these Demigryph Knights. Unfortunately, got a little bit obstructed here by these Tattersouls, but that's okay. Going to be dropping a really nice Sea Fang down the line here. Not a great pick. It could have been a bit better, but you know, getting a bit of those Great Swords. These guys right now not following through, but this Shaman Sorcerer is now in a bit of a pickle, being charged by these Demigryph Knights with halberds. They will be able to see him off very shortly. Over here in this fight, we'll go ahead and pop it in slow motion for just a second. Boris did come down, and he terrified away Wulfric. Wulfric is very low on HP and very scared at this point, but these Norscan Ice Wolves and the Maws of Savagery and this Skinwolf Werekin, after having administered a pretty severe beatdown on the Royal Altdorf Gryphites, they're now turning their attention to Boris, who has landed in their midst, and he's going to have a very hard time getting away once he gets the Frostbite on him, and with the Werekin chasing him, it's going to be pretty tough. You can see there now the Frostbite proccing. He's going down to 44 speed. My opponent does drop the net there to help spring Boris loose, but at this point, he's very much lost the advantage because he's using this net in a reactionary manner, and the Royal Altdorf Gryphites have been completely wiped out, and this other unit of Demigryph Knights is very, very low. They did see off that Metal Sorcerer, so that's very good, but the Brutes of the Hound here are continuing to clean up on this flank. They mopped up those Sigmar Suns and are now turning their attention to this tattered unit of Great Swords. My opponent does still have a very healthy firing line here, but he's not picking the appropriate targets. If he were to, say, fire at this Skinwolf Werekin, these handgunners would be firing up and over this line, whereas right now, they're probably just left on fire at will, which means they're probably targeting like this unit of Marauders or something else that's actually obstructed. So it's a bit unfortunate there. The Light Wizard also getting mopped up by some Marauder Berserkers. And yeah, the Great Swords, as you can see, have mostly been mopped up. This one in the center here broke through, but now it's way out of position. And it's taken substantial damage as well. So now you can see the handgunners getting the appropriate target and actually firing over the line, getting a bit of damage done on the Werekin. Nothing too substantial, though, since he does have their missile resistance and regeneration. We're now going to be kind of trying to zerg through with the infantry here. These Demigryph Knights are continuing to pull away from these spears, which have now been activated. I've held them in reserve for most of the game. The Marauder Javelins just continue to pepper large targets as well. Boris is going to be flying through the Arcs of Fire, as well as this last unit of Demigryph Knights. Charging into spears, you know you're getting a bit desperate. They're trying to pull through, but they just don't quite have the mass, and they're going to take quite a bit of damage from those spears. So you can see those guys are done. Boris now has landed here, going to be terrifying away these Marauders, but you know, it's all good. We're going to be getting the Marauder Javelins in. We're also bringing up Wulfric and the dogs. You can see Hunter of Champions being dropped here. Sea Fang going off, getting right on those crossbowmen. Really nice damage. The handgunners now teeing off on Wulfric. He is a bit out of position here. If Boris had immediately turned around and countercharged, he probably could have done some good damage, but I'm going to realize the situation and pull away, pull behind these Marauders so the handgunners can't get quite as good of a shot. You can see more javelins continuing to fly in on Boris and deal damage. And then this last unit of handgunners here is going to get run down by these hounds and the Ice Wolves, and just really terrible day for them. You can see Boris now landing here, but the poison and the javelins and everything is going to see the last of his leadership crumble, and that'll be game. So yeah, this is kind of what I mean in that I'm not a huge fan of Demigryph Knights in this matchup, just because they tend not to trade super cost effectively with Skinwolves, especially the Maws of Savagery. I mean, I don't know if you guys have seen the testing video I did. I will probably throw that little testing clip at the end, but the Maws of Savagery one-on-one will beat Demigryph Knights with halberds, and it's just really not a super cost-effective trade. So I'm not really a big fan of these guys. And the nets, you can see, although he did get some nice net play, it wasn't overly substantial, and you know, Yeah, I wouldn't say that it really changed the course of the battle. It was more of a reactionary tactic. I mean, he did get some early damage done on Wulfric, but, I don't know if he had the magic or, exactly why he wasn't casting it more often. Maybe he just wasn't microing it, but, it's not overly impactful, just because even if you do get a net off and get the charge on something like the Maws of Savagery, I mean, they're still going to do quite a bit of damage in return. And yeah, in my opinion, it's just not the way to go. So what do I think then? What's the best way to counter Norsca as the Empire? And a lot of you guys may know, if you've watched my previous videos or read my comments on various videos, on other people's channels, I am a big fan of Lore of Fire against Norsca, and especially Knights of the Blazing Sun. If you bring them with a Bright Wizard, the Kindle Flame synergy is really, really good. And so we're going to see that in action here. I've got Boris Todbringer, a bit of a different infantry composition in that I have more flagellants and spears with Free Company, rather than a more elite line with the handgunners and the greatswords. Sigmar's Sons, of course, and 3 Knights of the Blazing Sun. So these guys are really, really good against Skinwolves. They'll trade much more cost-effectively than Demigryph Knights with Halberds, especially if you bring the Kindle Flame with the Bright Wizard. Bright Wizard also has Flaming Sword of Ruin and a Fireball, just for some extra punch. Flaming Sword of Ruin is a great ability for bringing extra burst damage, and it also imbues flame attacks, which means that these Spearmen, these Free Company, and other units will do very, very well against Skinwolves. And you can see my opponent has brought Wintertooth, which means we are going to be facing up against Throg. So yeah, you can see I've done my standard deployment here with the Unbreakable Front Line, rear line of Free Company Militia backed up by the Spears for a third line. We've got 1 unit of Knights of the Blazing Sun out on this flank, and the other 2 are going to be pushing out on this flank. For my opponent's build, a lot of Berserkers, which is something you'll typically see when facing Norsca as the Empire. He's got, let's go ahead and take a look here. He's got Skinwolves, a Skinwolf Werekin. His Metal Sorcerer is carrying Final Transmutation and Transmutation of Lead, so very good stuff. He does have the Troll King Throg, and another unit of Skinwolves here. Out here on this flank, he does have the Hounds of Tashnar, or the Beasts of Tashnar rather, the Regiment of Renown Warhound with the Anti-Large. Pretty good unit, with another Skinwolf Werekin. So pretty strong army overall. This is very much typical of what you'll see against the Empire. Berserkers will pretty much carve through most of your infantry, but Flagellants are the best trade I've found, because they can dish quite a bit of damage in return and they won't break. So, that's very good. A Heavy Shock Cavalry is also very good against Berserkers. Like these Knights of the Blazing Sun, with the Kindle Flame and with their high charge bonus, will severely punish a low armor infantry like these Marauder Berserkers. So that's very good. So we'll go ahead and fast forward a little bit here, as there's kind of some positioning going on. And I'm moving up to this kind of road here, and my opponent is now moving up, so I'm going to cross over and set up here where I have a nice firing line from all my Free Company Militia. And yeah, I did miss it a bit over here, which is a bit unfortunate, but these Knights of the Blazing Sun did get over here and get into these Hounds. They completely routed off the Beast of Tashnar already. You can see this Skinwolf got absolutely crushed. Absolutely crushed. We'll go ahead and put it in slow motion for just a minute. They're down to 9 unit models, so half their unit models are gone, which means they can regenerate, but they can only regenerate up to those 9 unit models. This other unit of Skinwolves as well is starting to take a severe amount of damage, as this unit that was previously engaged on the Warhounds turns its attention over here. They're going to be getting in here, using their fiery lances to deal some great justice against these Skinwolves, and one of the reasons why fire damage is so effective against them, they do have the regeneration trait, which gives plus 20% weakness to fire. Stack that with the Kindle Flame, and that's plus 12%, so that gives a total of plus 32% fire damage against Skinwolves. So the Knights of the Blazing Sun, with their high charge bonus and everything, will be doing quite a bit of damage, even with the they did have a Final Transmutation dropped on them, which that's okay. The Knights of the Blazing Sun do actually have a magic resistance of 25%, so that wasn't the best use of Final Transmutation. As well, they're under the effects right now of Transmutation of Lead, but even still, able to deal a substantial amount of damage to those skin wolves. They've already dropped 4 unit models. This skin wolf werekin is in here as well, dealing quite a bit of damage, and I will lose these 2 Knights of the Blazing Sun here, but they've done a substantial amount of damage, and I'm very happy with their performance. We are kicking off the mainline fight over here, and you can see I've been cycling in and out with this unit of Knights of the Blazing Sun here, doing quite a bit of damage to the Marauder Berserkers, and this skin wolf is now reacting, trying to get in. Over here, yep, it looks like the fight's going down. We'll go ahead and kick it back into full speed here. So yeah, like I said, I will lose this fight over here. But the Knights of the Blazing Sun have done enough damage that I feel it was substantial. And you guys could see, you know, I didn't get the charge exactly, but they absolutely crushed those skin wolves. So now we're setting up for the next phase here. You can see the Tattersalls actually winning out against those Berserkers. Elsewhere, the Flagellants are losing, but now that we have the firing line starting to set up, as the Berserkers start to push through, they'll get absolutely trashed by all these Free Company. You can see Throg now coming through, and this is one of the other reasons why I love Lore of Fire against Norsca. So you can see this Bright Wizard has now dropped Flaming Sword of Ruin, so all these missiles and all the melee damage that's going to be coming in from these spears is flaming, which means, look, Throg has already taken, I mean, it's literally been like 5 seconds, and Throg has already taken like 20% of his HP and continuing to take more. I mean, he will regenerate, getting a nice hit on that Bright Wizard there. But it's going to be a bad day for him. Just watch how quickly he gets put down with this Flaming Sword of Ruin. Especially when we bring in Boris now that he's under the effects. He's got the flaming attacks as well. He can chunk away about 30 to 40% of his HP in a single hit. So, I mean, this is why I say Lore of Fire is the best option against Norsca. Look at how quickly Throg just died there. I mean, he is a powerful melee combatant. He only has 55 armor, but still, he is done already. That was a single Flaming Sword of Ruin cast. Probably cost me about, what, 9, 10 mana? I don't remember exactly, but considering how cheap that spell is, to be able to shatter Throg like that in about 5 seconds, you can't tell me that the Lore of Fire is not useful against Norsca. We're going to be throwing down a Fireball. Clean miss there on that Skin Wolf, but if it had connected, it would have been pretty alright. Over here, the Skin Wolves that had one are getting through on this flank, but you can see because they're so tattered, they're going to be beat down by lowly spearmen, and you know, that's going to be very good for me. Across the board now, we're just in a mop-up operation mostly, using what's left of our front line and the spears to engage on these Berserkers, and so on. Boris has now got the Metal Sorcerer in his sights since he doesn't have too much protection. And we're going to be getting through. Unfortunately, this Werekin did get on this Bright Wizard and attempt to assassinate him. However, he wasn't able to quite finish him off, and now is going to be opened up on by a lot of Free Company. And you know, with 88 armor and some missile resistance, he's going to be somewhat immune. But you know, with the spears mixed in here and everything going on, he will take quite a bit of damage over time. And you know, he'll be able to tank that out, but it is eating away at his healing cap and, you know, other good stuff. And at this point, you know, my opponent's army is pretty much just the Werekin. His Berserkers are gone, the regular Skin Wolves are gone, this Metal Sorcerer is continuing to fight, but one-on-one, Boris probably could beat a Werekin. 2-on-1, it's a bit of a dicey proposition, but you know, the Bright Wizard is going to come back shortly and be able to drop another Flaming Sword of Ruin here, and we'll be able to put these guys down fairly quickly. So yep, you can see these this last unit of Knights of the Blazing Sun that did survive, they get in and they actually do quite a bit of damage to this Skin Wolf Werekin. But yep, now that things are rallying, we've got this Free Company coming back, we've also got this Bright Wizard coming back, so I'm going to be dropping here another Flaming Sword of Ruin. My opponent wisely is going to try to move his Werekin out of the area of effect of this spell, which is a very smart move. You can see he's pulling through, trying to get on those Free Company, but even as they're still in this area of effect, they're going to be taking a ton of damage. The Knights of the Blazing Sun now charging in again, and just look at how much burst damage they do there for a, you know, for a tattered unit of knights. And you know, it's with the Kindle Flame and everything, I mean, you guys saw how useful that was. And you know, let's go ahead and take a look at the breakdown. But yeah, I mean, 82 kills on this unit. That was the one cycle charging in and out on those Berserkers. 41 kills in a Chevron here on this Knights of the Blazing Sun. Only 13 here, but still, I mean, they pretty much made those Skin Wolves you know, completely cost ineffective. They also very much destroyed those Beasts of Tashnar. They were routed off almost instantly, and you guys saw how quickly Throg got put down by that Flaming Sword of Ruin with Boris and all those Free Company and the Spearmen. So this is definitely the way to go against Norsca, in my opinion. with the Empire is to go really heavy on the flame damage. You go, Knights of the Blazing Sun with the Bright Wizard, get that plus 32% fire damage, and with the heavy shock damage of the the high charge bonus and everything with the Knights of the Blazing Sun, you can really put down skin wolves very fast. If your opponent does bring Throg, you guys saw you can put him in a trash can within about 5 seconds. And yeah, I mean, it's the Berserkers getting a lot of kills, but these are mostly just on Flagellants. My rear line was still fairly healthy at the end of that. Free Company, not doing a whole lot, but they'll hold up okay in melee, and they do some nice missile damage with their high model count. So very, very fun stuff. Well played to my opponent. Hope you guys enjoyed those 2 replays. So let me know what you think. When you're facing up against Norsca as the Empire, what kind of build do you like to use? Do you prefer the more traditional Light Wizard with, Demigryph Knights, or do you see now the merit of this Bright Wizard with the Knights of the Blazing Sun? And we'll go ahead and just leave you with one more quick, let's see if I can find it here. So I believe it's this one. So let's go ahead and just if you weren't quite convinced enough of this kind of interplay, we're gonna go ahead and just show you. This is a testing clip that I included in one of my videos a while back, but it's relevant to this discussion, so I wanted to go ahead and include it here. Basically, myself and Jonton were testing different levels of knights versus skin wolves to see what would be most effective. And I have long held the opinion that Knights of the Blazing Sun are the best counters to skin wolves, and they're a very good pick against Norsca. And keep in mind, these tests are without the Kindle Flame, because there's no Bright Wizard on the field. So this is just pure one-on-one. It's not exactly the same, because yes, this is the Maws of Savagery, the Regiment of Renown. They have armor piercing and anti-large. But the cost-wise, they are 50 less than the Demigryph Knights with Halberds, so that's a roughly equivocal cost. This one, the Knights of the Blazing Sun, I believe, are 1,300, and if I remember right, Armored Skin Wolves are 1,100 or 1,150. So the Knights of the Blazing Sun are slightly more expensive as well, so you would expect them to win, and cost-wise, you would expect the Demigryph Knights with Halberds to win. But you guys will see that is definitely not the case. The Demigryph Knights with Halberds are going to lose really hard on the charge, and as they get behind and the Maws of Savagery regenerate, they'll just continue to lose harder and harder. Whereas on this other side, you can see this unit of Knights of the Blazing Sun putting these skin wolves down handily. I mean, just easily dispatching them, only losing about 30% of their HP in the process, and pretty much completely wiping out that unit. They do have, I guess not, I guess they still have 11 unit models, but now dropping to 10, and they'll continue to lance some down as they try and get away, but yeah, so that was very decisive, I would say. You can see the Demigryph Knights with Halberds losing also very decisively, so now they're down to about 7 unit models, and yep, so they're shattered now, so they're done, and so it's not exactly, like I said, it wasn't exactly a one-on-one trade, but, it's worth noting that the Knights of the Blazing Sun trade so much more effectively. So now we're going to set up another test here, just quickly, while we have the opportunity. These Maws of Savagery are going to stand here and regenerate for a while, just so that it's a little bit more of an even trade. But you guys will see, these Knights of the Blazing Sun, look, they've already picked up a Chevron from dispatching that one unit, and they're going to come in here and wreck what's left of the Maws of Savagery. So I mean, if that doesn't convince you of the efficacy of the Lore of Fire against Norsca, I don't really know what will, I'd say that's fairly decisive, but let me know what you guys think. Is this the most optimal build, or would you rather take something else? I'm very curious to know your thoughts. Let me know what you think in the comments below. Thank you very much for your support. If you like this kind of content, like and subscribe. I'll be putting out more. This video today was a little bit longer than I normally do, but I really wanted to have some good discussion and kind of show you some different things. And I know it's not exactly a one-to-one comparison, but in an online battle, you're really hardly ever going to get a one-on-one comparison just because this game is so dynamic. But hopefully I've kind of shown you guys my point, and look, I mean, this unit, just in this test, this unit of Knights of the Blazing Sun got 2 chevrons from taking out the Maws of Savagery and this unit of Armored Skin Wolves, so very, very good stuff. Yeah, hope you guys enjoyed. Thank you very much for watching, and we'll see you next time.